This morning, Brexit, more than 60 hours of argument, 3 votes, no amendments. Was the Article 50 debate a waste of everyone's time? Plus, does the government U-turn on child refugees from Syria shame Britain? Do mock exams matter? And other things we hate? Ultimately, what draws us together? That's today's lifestyle. Welcome to Thursday show. I'm Matthew Wright. It is the 9th of February, otherwise known as Pizza Day, when we celebrate the flat. I can see Larry glaring at me already.
By whom? The pizza marketing board?
Maybe.
We're in the
10
UK.
seconds in.
Sorry, but you know.
It's like being married. It was created in Italy, I think it was 1,020 years ago. Pizza Hut's cheeseburger crust, Larry, is the most fattening. That contains 2,880 calories. The one most expensive is the 24K pizza. It's sold in New York. It's made of flakes of gold, white Stilton cheese, caviar, truffles. That's a bargain at £1,600 or £200 a slice. Begs the question, of course, what flavour turns our panel on? Let's find out. Down the phone, Dominic Holland. Good morning to you, sir. Do you like a bit of pizza?
Pizza, it's all about the base. It's got to be a thin base. It's got to be crispy. It's got to be well cooked. Can't be soft.
No.
Give me a fat doughy bake. I just can't stand the fat doughy ones. So as long as it's crispy and it's thin
and doesn't have pineapple on it.
Yeah, pineapple shouldn't be on a pizza. No. I like a bit of anchovy. I like a bit of vegetarian. I like a bit of ham as well. But it's all about the base.
Do you have a particular flavour of toppings?
Yeah, I like the old pepperoni. That's what the kids go for. I quite like a pepperoni.
Well, you're getting a what are you getting? You're not getting pepperoni. Are you getting pepperoni?
Capriciosa, is it? That's right, yeah.
Capriciosa you're getting?
Yeah, that's got pepperoni on.
Capricious.
I'm eating the whole thing now, am I?
No, you don't. You can just stare at it while Larry slices them off.
No, it's just
this is a little tepid.
It's a little flaccid, I hate to say.
Flaccid as well.
Yes, the word I would use.
Larry Turner, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Nutritionist.
Can I just come in there? Flaccid is not a word associated with I'm all right down there.
No, I'm guessing, Larry, but I know that you don't eat regular pizza.
Because the researcher emailed me, from the time you made me wear that Welsh hat about 12 years ago, I refused to do anything on this show. And she went to, what pizza do you like? And I thought,
this is very nice.
I don't eat pizza. Now, I know how that sounds.
You have some cranky, weird, healthy
I do. And as I typed it, I thought, oh, God, I know what they're going to say. I said, I would only eat a pizza if the base was made from either courgette or cauliflower. I'm sorry.
You can't get any courgettes because Johnny Foreigner's not making them anymore. Keeping them all for himself. So what we got you, you're going to love this. This is a chocolate dessert pizza.
Really?
A mixture of white and dark chocolate. Over 1,000 calories. You can just... And while you look at that and think of all the things you're missing out on life, I will introduce our special guest. Put them together, please. For Conservative MP, Raymond Chishley. Good morning to you, sir. Welcome. No pizza for you, you'll be pleased. Chocolate. You might want to eat it later.
You want my Fitbit?
Barrister and one-time advisor to the Pakistan PM Benazir Bhutto, murdered 10 years ago. Raymond first stood for Parliament here as a Labour candidate in 2005, but switched sides to become a Conservative MP for Gillingham and Rain in 2010. Begs the question, first of all, that's quite a side swap, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And do you know what? My parents always voted Labour. I came from a background where my father was an imam, a priest. He came from Kashmir in 1978. I didn't see my father for the first 6 years because when he left, he was in government out there. My mother and my older sister stayed back in Kashmir, joined him in 1984. And, you grew up, from, I think in those days, from a working class background, not a lot of money. My parents always voted Labour.
So what changed to go from Labour to Tory?
I think if you go...
Is it the law?
No, I think when you go through life experiences, you go through life experiences. When I, went to university, I was the first one in my family to go off to university. Like everybody else, I went to a ordinary high school, which closed down the year I left as a failing high school. So you went through challenges in life, and you then go to the principal when you work hard as a young barrister. And I've got to say, being a young barrister doing criminal law, it's not a lot of money.
No, there isn't.
There's not a lot of money. When you do a bail application, £50, you could be there in court all day. If you turn up, your trial is listed, it doesn't take place, you're there for £50 a day. People don't know about that.
And you have to pay out to clerks and things like that.
You've got to pay out to clerks as well. So the concept for me is if you work hard, if you do the right thing, I want to keep more of my money. So I think with a Conservative, always has been, the harder you work, the more money you keep, actually. So for me, going
the
through
more money you keep, the less tax you pay. That's the other.
But you want to pay less taxes. You want to pay less taxes, and I want to make sure that those who work hard pay less taxes. That's why for us in government, we've taken, those on low income out of taxation altogether. So you should.
But they're still quite poor, aren't they? Because their wages aren't very high. Because the people at the top like to feather their own nests.
Well, what we've done is with the living wage, we've put forward the living wage, which is there,
which is not really the living wage, because the Living Wage Foundation says that your living wage is way short.
Well, would I like to see the system go even further? But do I think what we have at the moment is working?
Now, there's a couple of campaigns. There's one in particular which I'm aware that the laser pens in pilots' eyes. Now, we read occasionally about sort of the tabloid horror stories. Why are you so involved with that?
Well, look, I looked at this issue because as a member of Parliament, you can come up with new ideas and you speak to different organisations to look at this. But when you see in the paper that lasers are shone in people's eyes, if you're travelling on an aeroplane and you get a laser shone in the pilot's eyes, that can easily lead to a catastrophe.
Yes.
It doesn't simply have to be an aeroplane. It can be a train. It can be a coach. And they're easily accessible. And so when you looked at the number of incidents, I think in 2015 there was over 1,400 incidents. There is laws at the moment available to restrict the use of laser pens.
What are you after?
I'm saying that having laser pens which are over the strength of 1 milliwatt, they should be prohibited in law.
Right.
In Australia, in New Zealand, they are prohibited in law. So if you're a scientist, yes, of course you've got genuine reason to have it. But otherwise, the freely accessible sale of laser pens, which can use to cause catastrophe, should be regulated.
Well, I'll tell you what, you got my backing on that. What about some questions for you guys, Lowry?
I'm just kind of fascinated because you don't sound like you came from a kind of working class background, and where did and
you don't sound Welsh, Lowry.
I know, but
I went to university in Wales.
Did you? But
I did.
Did you have to remake yourself? Would you be embarrassed to fit in?
Well, do you know, for me, it's my pupil master was a wonderful guy. He was very well spoken. I wasn't, but I think you just mould into that as you grow on. I didn't have any elocution lessons. I didn't have any of that. But I do remember going back to a school reunion and somebody saying, "Raymond, you do pronounce your T's now, don't you?" But I think it was in life when you went as a young lawyer, you mould into it. I remember going to the dinners that you have to do at Lincoln's Inn, saying to my pupil master, "Where do I start with a fork and knife?" Because I wasn't used to that.
Gosh.
But then, but I would say...
But you weren't overawed by that, and you weren't, you didn't feel that that wasn't a world that you could be part of?
No, I think what I would say to anyone out there is always ask the question. If you want to achieve something, you can. So before going into that dinner, remember there's a dinner there at Lincoln's Inn, you've got to do a certain number of dinners and before you can qualify to be a barrister. But I didn't know in terms of number of forks and knives that you had in different glasses of wine. But although I don't drink, which one's which? And he was brilliant. And even now, as a member of Parliament, if there's a really bad law, I ring up Nick, who's now a judge. Nick, how does that work? So never be afraid to ask someone who knows what it is, because it's less likely you're not going to make a mistake.
Okay, time is running up. It's very wise words. Some things we need to establish. Were you in or out on Brexit, Remain or Leave?
I was out.
You were out, so you're out. Same for you, Dominic?
As a Tory MP, let me ask you, where are you on Mr Burko, the esteemed speaker?
Yes.
I've got to take a balanced view, because the balanced view that I take, I said when we looked at the state visit of the President of the United States that he should come over here, but in relation to our British values, when the Prime Minister stands with him at number 10, she should say openly and clearly that what he has done with the ban is wrong.
What if that jeopardises any hope of a trade deal?
But I think it's about principles.
So do I.
It's about principles. It's about our relationship is with the United States. It's a special relationship. With the President of the United States, look, if we tell everyone in our country we have to promote British values to fight extremism, radicalisation, and then what we have, because we may get a trade deal, we have to stand next to somebody and say, hey guys, we're not going to say anything. Well, what do? You say, look, like the Prime Minister did when she stood at Washington and said, you know what, he may have his policy different on Russia, but our policy on Russia is different. So I would say, let him come over here, but I expect the Prime Minister...
Hall, Royal Gallery, or neither of those venues?
Well, I would say when the point comes with John Burko, the Speaker, I think when he said he would, his view was he should not address both houses of Parliament. Do I think there is merit in that? There is a lot of MPs in Parliament from all parties who say, do you know what, having him on a state visit, yes, do all the pomp and ceremony, but state visit in Parliament when there is a split decision on that, I think he's
preemptive because he hasn't been invited to address either house. So what will happen is he won't be invited, and then Burko will claim that he's been listened to. Isn't that the case? Is this a man, self-aggrandising man?
Well, I would say normally on a state visit, if you want to take it to the highest level, I've never been involved in the planning of state visits. Go to the Foreign Office. Look, you're very kind. But I would say it's at the top echelon, of a state visit. So if you come over, you speak to the Joint House of Parliament. So you have the Pope, you have Obama, you had Aung San Suu Kyi, you had Nelson Mandela. Would I class Mr. Trump in that category? The answer is most certainly not. So your point about procedure, should the Speaker have got involved in a political debate? And I think the answer, there's a lot of people there in Parliament who feel he shouldn't have got involved in that.
Okay, one more, because it's a subject very close to my heart. I happen to know that you are very much in favour of bowel screening for everyone, bowel cancer screening for everyone from the age of 50, not 60 and over, is currently the case. I spoke to a health minister on this at Parliament a couple of weeks ago. He was clearly supportive in theory, but was obviously worried about money. He drew short of saying it would become government policy. Will it? Should it? When might it happen?
Well, look, if you ask me, I'm a backbench member of Parliament. I would say if the matter came up, I would definitely say we should do everything we can to ensure that we get early diagnosis of cancer. I lost a very good friend of mine last year, Mike O'Brien, who was a councillor who supported me before I became a member of Parliament on every street stall campaigning. He died of lung, liver, pancreatic cancer, and they couldn't diagnose the primary source of that. So I would say if you can do anything to help somebody with early diagnosis, then I would say I'm all for it.
4,000, 5,000 lives a year, each year they reckon they could save if they lowered the screening age.
I would say, look, if the legislation got put forward, I'd be very sympathetic.
Except for screening campaigns are now being questioned about whether they're actually talking about overdiagnosis, certainly for
the screening campaign for bowel cancer, there's the new one out, which is much more accurate, much cheaper. And
but can I just ask a question on that? In terms of the uptake of people taking part in that is one. The question I asked the ministers. I was with the Minister David Moby yesterday. I asked him, and he goes, "Look, 58%. People who take part in the screening. You should get more people to take part in the screening."
But one of the problems is the current screening is fairly unappetising, and I think the new screening is perhaps more appealing. It's great to have you with us this morning. Really is. Hope you enjoy the ride.
Thank you very much.
It's not going to be easy all the way through. I'll give you that much for nothing. Because our first phone in is really about your day job, because after more than 60 hours of argument, 3 votes, no amendments, was the Article 50 debate anything but a waste of everyone's time. With only one Tory, Ken Clarke, voting against the bill. Is it ever going to go any other way? Brexit Secretary David Davis hailed it as a victory for the British people, but is it when the views of at least 48% haven't been accounted for in any shape or form? After taking your calls on that, is over to Raymond for the rest of today's headlines. And then I want to know what you make of the government's apparent U-turn on last year's pledge to take in child refugees from Syria. Yesterday, you may have heard the doors being closed after just 350 unaccompanied children were taken in. That's a tenth of the 3,000 campaigners had hoped for. But with councils stretched financially, can you blame them for saying no? Then I want to know if the things we hate ultimately bring us closer together. We told you yesterday about a new dating app that matches couples not by shared loves, by the things they loathe. There are thousands of choices: spending money, reality television, Donald Trump, sexual kinks. Could this app, I wonder, hold the key to lasting love? And then finally, as a nod to Larry and her family, I want to know if mock exams matter. It is mock season. Hundreds of thousands of young people swatting like crazy for trial run.
They're lying on their beds playing Xbox is what they're doing.
Well, yeah, I guess. Apparently swatting like crazy for trial runs of their GCSEs, A-level standards and higher. While universities, of course, need predicted grades to assess who gets a place, should we be worried by the psychologists who worry that good
geeks, I just wanted to do better and better. Oh. Yeah, I know. That's embarrassing. I know. No, my mocks were terrible, so I just gave it all in. I went partying. That's not true, Mum. Not true at all. If you want to give us a call today, the number's 0207 173 5555. Calls will cost you no more than 10 pence per minute from my BT landline, but other networks and mobiles may vary. If you want to send us an email, you can send that to wrightstuff@channel5.com, or you can text us. Just put TWS plus your comment to 85525. Text will cost you 25 pence plus your standard network rate. Remember, not all messages will be seen on screen. Finally, if you're on social media, Twitter, Instagram, you can find us at 5wrightstuff. You can head to our Facebook page and also our YouTube channel. You can find us youtube.com/The Right Stuff, and remember to click subscribe.
I was watching clips of Lowry only yesterday.
How can that be on screen then?
Online.
Why? What kind of online? I once appeared on a German porn site. It wasn't me. They had put my head on somebody else's body who had a much better body than I had. It wasn't so bad.
You look great. I'm going to say that's a fetish.
Isn't it? The niche market, very, very niche.
No, it's not true. After the break, we're asking if the past 2 weeks of parliamentary Brexit debate have been a waste of everyone's time. 0207 173 5555. That's the number you need. It's the panel we're going to hear from next.
amendments to the Brexit bill were considered by MPs. How many were put forward? Was it 9, 187 or 287? Find out after the break.
We get deals on everything, but I tried to borrow some cash and got knocked back, so when I did get an offer, I wobbled. I nearly took it, but I tried 118 money. Everyone should. Felt like I had a choice.
You are not alone. Premiums you've paid, whichever is more. You can get cover from £2,000 to £20,000, and premiums start from as little as £6.47 a month.
Looks like we've got our work cut out.
Call now on 0800 0830 973 for the lifetime payback guarantee.
There's an amazing deal on BT Broadband. You can enjoy a 25% welcome discount and get a super reliable Wi-Fi connection. Plus, when you're out and about, you can connect to the UK's largest Wi-Fi network for free. It'll cost £24.99 a month on a 12-month contract. And that includes line rental. Don't miss that 25% welcome discount. Call 0800 500 282 or visit bt.com/deals.
Let's face it, vacuuming can be a pain. Shackled by the weight and tethered by the cord. The minute you finish, more mess appears. And do we really want to touch the dirt when we empty? I designed the powerful new G-Tech AirAm to help you break free. You get high-performance cordless cleaning, even on embedded pet hair. It glides from carpet to hard floor with no settings to change. And its new airlock feature picks up big bits from the surface and fine dust deep down. The AirAm gives you up to 40 minutes powerful cleaning. Plenty to do your home twice. Good dog. The dirt is compacted into a bale and empties with a slide. Order your G-Tech AirAm today for £199 with free delivery. Call now or find out more at gtech.co.uk.
So, you keep running out of data on your mobile, do you? A. Stop streaming music. B. Quit watching cat videos.
As if.
Or C. Double your data with this SIM-only contract, now including 2 gigabytes every month for just £10. But hurry, this deal ends on the 26th of February. What's more, you can stay in control of your family's usage by capping monthly bills. Because those cat videos just keep coming. Smile. You're on Tesco Mobile.
Celebrate life in the slow lane. This is very nice. With 4 familiar faces. As they experience the highs and lows.
Oh, why won't it stop?
Journeying Britain's wonderful waterways.
To the canal.
Celebrity carry-on barging starts Friday at 8 on Channel 5.
So just 9 amendments to the Brexit bill were considered by MPs. But how many were put forward? The answer is 287.
Welcome back to Thursday Show live on Channel 5 with Dominic Holland, Larry Turner and our very special guest, the Tory MP, Roman Shishley, who's going to bring you all the other headlines in about 30 minutes' time. But first, after more than 60 hours of argument, 3 votes, no amendments, has the Article 50 debate been ultimately a waste of everyone's time? 0207 555, the number for your thoughts. With only one Tory, Ken Clarke, once again voting against the bill. Was it ever going to go any other way? I mean, the Tories do have a comfortable majority. You have to wonder if Labour has failed on every front after failing to get any of their 9 amendments through, but they still voted the bill through. MPs have said spent more than 60 hours discussing the ins and outs of the 137-word notification of withdrawal bill, which gives PM Theresa May 2 years to negotiate a way out of the European Union. The first debates kicked off last Tuesday. After 2 days of impassioned argument, MPs looked at amendments. As we heard, just 9 of 287 put forward. Those 9 got discussed, but rejected. And now it's over to the House of Lords, who've been warned to push it through the bill or face abolition. MPs, they expect to get a final vote on the 7th of March. Brexit Secretary David Davis, he's delighted.
It's carried out the will of the British people. That's what Parliament has done today. And it's put through a bill which is just 137 words long. It's very simple. It just authorises the government to do what the people told them to do.
he may well see it as a victory for the British people, but you have to ask, is it? When at least 48% of voters haven't been accounted for. None of their views have been reflected in this legislation, maybe more, because of course not every leaver favours or had even considered the implications of a hard Brexit. Here's Lib Dem leader Tim Farron.
What you've basically done is allow there to be a stitch-up in the 21st century equivalent of smoke-filled rooms that will be imposed on the British people. My prediction is that perhaps 80% of the British people will be dissatisfied with what gets imposed upon them.
Oh, the Scottish Nationalists, they're not happy, that's for sure. Nicola Sturgeon, though, reserved most of her ire for Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn, photographed looking like a true statesman in his vest yesterday. You've handed the Tories a blank cheque, Sturgeon tweeted last night. You didn't win a single concession, but still voted for the bill. Pathetic. Raymond, has it been a waste of everyone's time?
Well, I would say it was important to have this debate because what I would say there's a separation of power between the executive, the judiciary, the legislature. The government had put forward a proposal to negotiate in the best interest of the country, and they were acting on the basis, look, do you know what, we had a referendum, and as a result of the referendum, there was a majority, although people say it's a small majority, but the point I raised in Parliament, and I raised it to all members of Parliament, if members of Parliament had won their seat by one vote, would they then come to Parliament and say, I can't take my seat, I don't have a mandate? They would all come and take their seats. So the reality is we have
the government spent heaven knows what of our money, because they won't tell us, on a court case, right, to prevent the debates that we've had from happening, knowing, though, they had a majority and the debates were always going to be, the government was always going to win. I genuinely don't understand what the last 2 weeks have been about.
Well, what I would say, the government felt, when they took the position to say, look, we do not need to go before Parliament. The reason they felt they did not have to go before the Parliament, because there was a referendum.
They're not legally binding.
And do you know what? That's why, if you ask me, the error made by the previous Prime Minister, David Cameron, when they make bad legislation, because he felt that the exit would not happen and therefore it would not get taken forward, and then the judges got blamed for interpreting it.
David Cameron got it wrong.
I would say if Parliament wanted a clear decision, then they would have said that referendum should not be advisory, that should be binding.
My concern is for the 48%, or in Tim Farron's view, the 80%, whose views and concerns are now, in terms of paper at least, are not reflected at all. How is that good for the British people?
Well, look, what we're saying at the moment is this is procedure. The court, the Supreme Court, where we have the checks and balances on our institutions, have said the Parliament has to pass an act to say the government can invoke Article 50. They did not say we have to set out the terms.
Should there not have been some amendments to reflect some of the concerns of the 40%?
But Matthew, the point. Should there not have been
some amendments to reflect those?
But we haven't even started the negotiations, so how can we put on there what we're going to have or what we're not going to have? What the government have made it very clear is once we negotiate with Europe, then we're going to come back, and what they've negotiated is going to go to members of Parliament, and members of Parliament can debate it line by line and say whether they agree with it or not. At this point, if you're playing poker and you're going to say to Europe, hey guys, this is what we can have, this is what you can't have, and therefore we're going to go to Europe.
You don't think maybe having an amendment that says EU nationals resident here and UK nationals resident in the EU can stay would be perceived perhaps favourably by the 27 other member states and would actually be received very warmly by the British people?
We can't make that part of the bill because that's dependent on other EU nations.
Yes.
I mean,
it's a statement of intent.
Yeah, but we can't make that promise because we do not know what's going to happen to those people who are living elsewhere. So it might be a lovely idea, but it's not practical. What I think is that there's a lot of talk about how this is a divorce, isn't it? We are now being divorced here. Having been to many divorces before, what normally happens is, and you know this as a lawyer, that maybe not be your area of law, is that the two sides sit in separate rooms and then the lawyers shuttle back and forth, and then they come back and they say,
up and up and up and up.
And the lawyer says, well, they say you can have this and this, but you're not having that. And you go absolutely berserk and say, that's outrageous, I can't bear this. And then they talk you down, and in the end you get a deal, and nobody is happy because you do not get what you want. But what you do is you do it in a room, usually in one day.
Okay,
the point being
we've had 2 weeks of chat which have ended up exactly where we were at the beginning.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make is that as soon as you start involving lots of different people, they all start sticking their oar in.
We've involved lots of different people. We've had 2 weeks listening to them all, and at the end of it, we're exactly where we were.
Absolutely, and that was always going to be the case.
So what was the point?
Because they were forced to do it by the High Court. That's the point.
We live under a parliamentary democracy.
Yes, and there was a referendum. And I get a bit tired of these endless talk about statistics. The fact is, when we have an election in this country, again, it doesn't matter if they win by one seat. There we are. If you voted on the wrong side, your views are not listened to.
Just one more, just bring Dominic on. Time is short.
Well, I mean, the point is, it's good for politicians and good for lawyers, so it's no point of harm. But look, what interests me is it is just on that clause of we are going to trigger, and they did say that at the very outset. When that court case was brought to the Supreme Court, everyone said...
The question is, have the last 2 weeks been a waste of everyone's time, when at the end of 2 weeks, we are exactly...
I think probably yes.
Exactly where we were when we started.
Probably yes.
Right.
Probably yes. But what's interesting to me is you had a majority of MPs who were Remain, but they obeyed the British people, which I think is a robust democracy. But also,
although in some cases have totally undermined their own constituents, which is also democratic, but one might argue undemocratic.
And we'll play out as we see. But what I
legally elected by their MPs, as opposed to an advisory referendum.
Another point worth making is the impotence of Labour. And I think Labour are a party seriously struggling to form any opposition, which is not good for our democracy.
No, and also, if you look at the number of amendments, most of those amendments were put forward by people who didn't want Brexit anyway.
Yes. That's not to say they might not be worthwhile, of course. So you've heard plenty from us. After the break, it's your turn. Has the parliamentary Brexit debate been anything but a waste of everyone's time? 027 173 555, the number. Plenty of the calls after a few minutes.
MPs spent 60 hours debating the Brexit bill, but how long was the shortest speech? Was it 17, 57 or 107 words? Find out after the break.
Welcome to QuickBooks. Manage your small business finances with it. Customize and send invoices in seconds. Get paid.